But if people began noticing in late 52, they started to take a harder look in 53. At a show in Reading, Pennsylvania, Blessed Sacrament, which by then had taken the name the Golden Knights, defeated a fine lineup of Pennsylvania competitors: Nussahara Todd, Osmond, West Reading, Liberty Bell. They posted their first win ever that night. Father Garner was said to be ecstatic. The Corps celebrated its success with a swim at Seaside Heights the next day. In 54, the Golden Knights came of age, knocking off all the great powers of the drum corps world one by one: St. Vincent's, Holy Name, St. Joe's, Audubon. At the VFW Nationals in Philadelphia's Municipal Stadium that year, BS capped its dramatic rise to the top by capturing its first national championship, only 26 months after its first contest, a feat never since duplicated. After Philly, the Corps promptly proved it was no fluke by traveling to Washington, where on a high school field it won the Legion crown. Remarkably, it was the first time the Corps would defeat all of its competitors on the same night. They were dubbed the Cinderella Corps, but that label began to pale in 55 when the kids from Clinton Hill kept on winning. The Cinderella label was finally laid to rest at a place called Flamingo Park in Miami. There, the Corps defended its Legion championship in storybook style. The odds were tough, for not only had St. Vinny's put on a near-perfect performance, but BS had been drenched by a thunder shower while waiting in full uniform to compete. But the sun soon broke through, and the GK truck rolled up, swung open its doors with a new set of uniforms. That 55 performance was vintage BS. It produced another title, and it solidified a Blessed Sacrament trademark. Great jobs in late August when it counted. 56 was the year of California, a season of 15 wins and another Legion title in LA's Coliseum. Now they call this Corps the Golden Robots. So good were they that after traveling 3,000 miles in 5 days from LA, they appeared at the Dream Contest in Jersey City, and with no practice and with no one touching any equipment, they posted a 90 and won handily. 57, the titles were lost, but not without a fight. BS put on outstanding shows at both nationals. Perhaps emblematic of the character of the Corps that year was the Bayonne contest. After losing to Vinny's for 8 straight weeks, and with several substitutes in the line that night, BS upset St. Vinny's before their home crowd. What can you say about the 58 Golden Knights? Winners at 20 of 21, taking both nationals in both states. This was, no doubt, one of the finest Corps ever fielded. It was the year of the new uniform, of national emblem, of the cross-through drill. It was the year fans simply paid their money just to watch Blessed Sacrament. Everybody knew who would win. The 59 Corps lost but 4 contests, crowning the year with the Legion Championship in Minneapolis. The following season, the first without Bill Hayes, was supposed to have been a rebuilding year, for many of the old-timers had left. The entire baritone line, for instance, was new. But the 1960 edition of BS took 18 out of 19, and bested every top Corps nationally in the finals at the VFW Nationals in Detroit. In 61 and 62, the Gold Machine rolled on, winning 14 shows in each year, placing 2nd and 4th, respectively, in the VFW Finals in those 2 seasons. 1963, the Corps swept across the East Coast, posting win after win. After carrying out what had by then become a tradition by winning the July 4th show in Union City with a hot performance, BS never looked back, winning 21 straight contests through the end of the year, including the Legion title for the 6th time and the first World Open. And for those who were at that World Open, will recall that Miss World Open wore a gold gown, and using the Corps as a backdrop, presented our drum majors with a trophy for every single category. The following years would see BS remain a national contender, but as problems mounted with the demise of the parish, as it once was, as families continued to move to the suburbs, there would be no more titles. There were, however, many heroic efforts, such as the World Open in '64, when the Corps took the preliminaries but placed a close 2nd in the finals. The Super Job performed in '66, both at the VFW Nationals in Jersey City and the Legion Championship in Washington. the 67 performance at the Legion Nationals in Boston, the 69 Legion contest in Atlanta, where again BS captured the prelims, only to be turned back by a narrow margin that night. There were victories in each of those years, and some were special. The 68 Corps lost its first 7 shows, yet in Wildwood captured the VFW States. And the 66 Dream, when the Knights defeated the 2 superpowers of that year, the Cavaliers and the Troopers. The 1970 edition of the Corps was the last great Corps, the Corps that lost the VFW Finals by only 2 points and came within a hair's breadth of winning the World Open, after again taking the preliminaries. There would be 2 final seasons, 71 and 72, as the Golden Knights strove against increasingly unsurmountable odds to maintain this rich tradition. The last victory was recorded by the 72 Corps, which in fact did carry on this tradition by steadily improving and by capturing several first places. But it was at the 1970 Dream that BS seemed to have been given its final tribute by the drum corps world. When the Corps started into its exit at Roosevelt Stadium that humid afternoon, the ovation by the 20,000 fans, which had been building throughout the show, was so loud and so sustained that the final song, Free Again, could simply not be heard above the din. Maybe they sensed that they were witnessing the end of an era. It seemed a final salute to a legend. And it was, my friend, the last hurrah. The final dream BS would win. The beginning of the end of a dream begun 20 years earlier in a rectory on Van Ness Place. For the record, the Blessed Sacrament Golden Knights were winners of 9 national championships, 19 state championships during a period that New Jersey was considered the Mecca of the drum corps world, and 11 dream contests in 14 appearances, a record still unsurpassed. The Corps won the first World Open. It placed first or second in more than 80% of every contest from 1954 on. It won 9 of 13 nationals from 54 through 63. And between 1954 and 1970, it placed in the top 4 in 18 out of 21 nationals. From 58 through 63, BS placed first 112 times in 135 contests.
All right. All right.
The last contest appearance was in Ridgefield in September of '72. The last song played by the Golden Knights, When You Wish Upon a Star. The tradition that began on a June day in Wildwood ended on a chilly afternoon in the upstairs room of the German Hall. The Corps simply did not have the people and resources to put out a competitive unit. Fred Dooley and John Demko had put the question to the 30 loyal members there. Should the Corps continue as a Class B Corps? The answer was painful, but it was unanimous. No. So the Corps that garnered personal accolades from President Eisenhower and Senator Hubert Humphrey, the Corps that played Carnegie Hall and the Felt Forum, the Corps that introduced many innovations ranging from the jazz concert to the rudimental bass, the Corps that won 240 shows and had traveled more than 300,000 miles, was finally hanging up the gold and black. It used to be said in the Hollican days that BS owns the dream. Know also that all those young men and women who marched with the Golden Knights always kept faith with that original dream of Father Garner's, that they would show character and always be the best that they could possibly be. The Golden Knights were inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1955, and ironically, as they were leaving the scene in 1972, they helped found and became, in fact, a founding member of Drum Corps International. Why don't we all I would like to propose a toast to the greatest drum corps that ever hit the field, to the Golden Knights.